Good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday. Today is day 2 of the week, and we are back here for our read aloud, our first read aloud of the week. Now, we're going to read 2 different read alouds this week, and both are going to be by the same author. And our author this week is Gail Gibbons. All right, so both books, you will see some similarities that we're going to read this week, and we're also going to continue on reading Gail Gibbons' stories next week as well. So I want you to take a look at the cover today. Our title of our story is called Giant Pandas. Okay, and like I said, our author and our illustrator today is Gail Gibbons. So she wrote the words and she illustrated the book as well. Now, our standard this week that we're going to be working on, our skill, is to try and identify or figure out why the author wrote this text. So we call that author's purpose. So by the end of the text, by the end of this video, you should be able to tell me or to identify why Gail Gibbons wrote this text. Was she writing it to persuade us? So to try to make us believe something? Was she writing it to inform us, to give information? Or was she writing it to entertain us, to make us laugh? So those are the 3 options: persuade, or to try to make us believe something; inform, to give us information about something; or entertain, to try and make us laugh. So as I'm reading today, I want you to be thinking about why you think the author wrote this text. I want you to take a good look at the cover. Okay, I've already told you the title is Giant Pandas. What do you notice about the size of this panda? I want you to take a nice look. What do you notice about the size of the panda? Take a look at the background. And then I also want you to think about, what do you notice about what pandas eat? What does it look like the panda is eating? The last question we're going to kind of think about before we start our text is, do you think this story is going to be fiction or nonfiction? Now, if you see, yes, we do have an illustration, but if we are going to be learning information about pandas, do you think it's going to be fiction or nonfiction? As I read the text, I want you to be asking yourself, is this a fiction text or nonfiction text? And remember, we haven't done one of these in a while, but if you see a little Post-it note, you're going to pause the video and take some think time to answer those questions. All right, Giant Pandas by Gail Gibbons. Misty, thick clouds hang over the mountaintops. A large black and white animal makes its way through a bamboo forest. It is a giant panda. Giant pandas live in the mountains of China. So we have a Post-it note. It says, look carefully at the map. What do you notice about the colors? What do you notice? Why would there be blue here, green here, yellow, and red? Let's look at the key. The yellow says where giant pandas once lived. So that means they don't live there anymore. The red means where giant pandas live today. Excuse me. So we've got where they once lived in the yellow, and then we've got where they live today in the red. And they are living in China. The Chinese people call the giant panda Da Shang Mao, meaning big bear cat. It looks like a bear and has long claws like a cat. All right, so here it says point to the pronunciation. So I want you to take a good look. I'll zoom in for you guys. Take a good look at the parentheses. This is going to show us how to pronounce this word right here. And this word is a Chinese phrase. So if we sound it out, it sounds like Da Shang Mao. So if we look here, it would say Da Shang Mao. Okay, so that's how they would pronounce it in China. And it says that the giant panda looks like a cat. How does the giant panda look like a cat? What are some similarities between the giant panda and a cat? Giant pandas are members of the bear family. So let's look at the illustration. Try to get a nice, good view of it. Let's look at our illustration. What details did the illustrator add to help you know more about what pandas look like? So what are some details that Gail Gibbons provides in this illustration to help us know what pandas really look like? All right, so on this page we have the giant panda characteristics. Adult giant pandas are about 4 to 5 feet or 1.2 to 1.5 meters long and normally weigh about 200 pounds, which is 91 kilograms. Most of the time they move slowly, but if they want, they can move fast at a trot. Their bodies are very flexible. The fur of a giant panda is thick, coarse, and oily to keep the panda's body warm and dry. The fur is about 2 inches long or 5 centimeters. So let's kind of look at all of the characteristics. So here we have a bunch of labels to label the different parts and the different characteristics of a panda. So here we've got claws, paws, the mouth, the nose, the snout, the eyes, ears, neck, back, the fur. Underneath the white fur is pink skin. So we can't see that, but it's underneath the white fur. They have pink skin. The tail, the scent glands, and underneath the black fur is black skin. So again, we can't see that, but underneath this black fur is black skin. Then we've got the legs and the stomach. Okay, so underneath the white fur is pink skin. Underneath the black fur is black skin. Giant pandas have poor eyesight, but they have excellent senses of smell and hearing. So if they have poor eyesight, that means they don't see very well. In fact, pandas are hard to find in the wild because they can hide when they smell or hear people coming. Normally, giant pandas are shy and tend to stay by themselves. When they want to communicate with one another, they use about 11 different kinds of sounds. They bark, growl, squeal, and make other sounds to mean different things. So here we have a bark means hello. So if a giant panda is barking, it is saying hello to another panda. Growling or snorting means I'm frightened. Okay, so if they bark, they're saying hello. If they growl or snort, they're frightened or they're scared. So giant pandas communicate by using different sounds. Why do you think a panda needs these different sounds? I should pause the video and take some think time. Why does a panda need all of these different sounds? Giant pandas also communicate by leaving their scent to tell other pandas they are in the area. They do this by rubbing a smelly liquid from glands under their tails onto rocks or trees. So here he's leaving his scent for other pandas to know that he's been there. Thousands of years ago, giant pandas ate only meat, but over time their diet changed to mostly plants, mainly bamboo. Occasionally they eat grass, roots, vines, honey, or even meat. So let's think about the word occasionally. The word occasionally means sometimes or now and then. So what does this tell you about how often giant pandas eat food that isn't bamboo? If they occasionally eat other food, what do you think that means? Bamboo. Because bamboo is not very nutritious, giant pandas must spend between 10 and 16 hours a day eating it in order to stay strong and healthy. The average panda eats about 27 pounds or 12 kilograms of bamboo in a single day. So they spend between 10 and 16 hours eating every single day. Giant pandas have 5 claws on each of their paws, and they also have a special thumb on their front paws. They use their thumbs and claws to grasp the bamboo. Okay, so here it says the thumb is a rigid extension, and here are their claws. So that's what they use to eat the bamboo. Giant pandas use their big teeth and powerful jaws to crush and eat the bamboo stalks. They also eat the leaves. So here we see their jaws and their strong teeth. Giant pandas can be playful and athletic. They do somersaults and climb trees quite easily. Also, giant pandas can swim, holding their heads above water while they paddle with their legs. So here's somersault, climbing a tree, and swimming. Giant pandas don't have a regular sleeping place. They sleep on the ground, in the base of a hollow tree, or wherever and whenever they feel tired. They sleep 2 to 4 hours at a time. Male and female giant pandas come together to mate in the spring. After mating, the male goes off on his own. The female makes a bed of bamboo, twigs, and grasses in a cave or among rocks or in a hollow tree. This place is called a den. So this here would be the den. In the autumn, about 5 months later, the mother panda gives birth to 1 or 2 babies called cubs. Immediately after giving birth, she begins nursing one of the cubs. A mother will raise only 1 cub at a time. Only 1 will survive. In their natural habitat, mothers usually give birth every 1 to 3 years. So if we look up here, it says a habitat is where an animal lives in nature. Down here we have young giant pandas are called cubs. So look at that cub. I'm going to zoom in on it for you. So that is a giant panda cub right there where it's pointing. A cub is very small. It only weighs about 3 ounces or 85 grams and is about 6 inches or 15 centimeters long. The mother is about 900 times larger than her cub. It's amazing how gentle she can be. Let's look at our question here. What do you notice about the size of the baby and the mother? Here we have the baby, and here we have the mother. What do you notice about the size difference? I'll give you a hint. Look, that's just her paw, and that's her baby. What do you notice about the difference? The cub has pink skin all over and some fuzzy white fur. Its cry sounds like a human baby. The mother holds her cub almost all the time. She won't leave to get food for herself for about 1 week after her cub's birth. In about 40 days, the cub opens its eyes. It has its black and white markings and is still helpless. When the mother wants to move her cub, she gently picks it up by its neck and carries it from place to place. So she carries it with her mouth. So it takes a baby cub 40 days to open its eyes. At about 4 months old, the cub is able to crawl. At 7 months old, the cub can run and climb trees. It weighs about 20 pounds, which is 9 kilograms, and has learned how to eat bamboo. So this is at 7 months. At about 2 years old, the young giant panda weighs around 120 pounds or 54 kilograms. It has learned all it can from its mother. Now it is time for the young panda to live on its own. In another 2 years, it will be able to have its own young. Over the years, the number of giant pandas has become smaller because of the destruction of their natural habitat by people, accidental deaths in traps set for other animals, and the hunting of pandas for their fur. Because of their size, adult giant pandas have few natural enemies except for people. Around 1900, there were about 65,000 giant pandas living in the wild. Today, there are fewer than 2,000. The people of China are trying to protect them. They have set aside large areas called reserves where giant pandas can live safely. Also, it is a crime to harm or kill a giant panda. Okay, so let's look here. What do you know now about giant pandas and the survival of this species or kind of bear? So I want you to take some time, really think about this question. What do you know now about how pandas survive that you might not have known before? In China and in a small number of other countries, scientists are trying to help increase the population of giant pandas. These pandas are cared for in captivity. The scientists try to encourage the pandas to give birth and care for their cubs. When the young giant pandas are capable of living on their own, some of them are released back into the wild. Nature reserves in China. Others are placed in zoos. Whenever there are giant pandas in a zoo, people love to come to see them. They look like big, chubby, black and white teddy bears that are very playful. So here they are in the zoo. You might have seen them in a zoo before. It is so much fun watching them. Giant pandas are one of the rarest and most appealing animals in the world. So I want you to think about that word rarest. That means you don't see them very often. And then it says pandas, pandas, pandas. And it just shows some different facts or information about pandas that you might have learned in the story. And that is the end of our book today. Okay, so I want you to take some think time to go back to that question that I asked you at the beginning. For author's purpose, why do you think Gail Gibbons wrote this text? Did she write it to persuade us, to make us believe something? Did she write it to inform us, to give us information about something? Or did she write it to entertain us, to make us laugh? I want you to think about that. Persuade, inform, or entertain. Think about what you learned in this text. Why do you think she wrote this text? All right, I want you to think about that as you do your writing assignment for today. So in your folder, you will have a writing assignment that says day 2 at the top. And here are your directions. It says write 3 facts about giant pandas. Write 3 questions about giant pandas that you have. You can also draw a picture in the box when you get finished if you would like. You don't have to. Okay, so you're going to write at least 3 facts, okay, about giant pandas that you have learned, and at least 3 questions about giant pandas that you still have. Now, I want to remind you that if you're writing a fact, it is a statement, which means it's going to end with a period. But if you're writing a question, you are asking something, which means it needs to end with a question mark. All right, use your very best handwriting, use your finger spaces. Remember that all sentences start with a capital letter and end with some kind of punctuation. So your facts will end with a period or an exclamation, and your questions will end with a question mark. All right, and you have to do at least 3 facts and at least 3 questions, which means if you have more, that's great. Go ahead and write them, and you may draw a picture when you're finished. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed the story today, and I will see you guys on Thursday for our second Gail Gibbons text of the week. Have a great day.